What's going on, everybody? Hey, it's your boy Reggie from Reggie's Expressions. As you can see, I got my homie Angelo here. I also have Keiz Ali. We're going to be having a great discussion talking about the community, the gay community, that is. And today it's actually going to be 3 parts. Today we're going to be talking about calling in, calling out. I'll explain more. We're also going to be talking about being born gay, parents' influences, so on and so forth. Tomorrow, we're going to have a different topic. We're also going to have another topic on day 3 as well to kind of round out the conversation when it comes to the gay community. And Angelo and I, you know us well from the podcast, and Keiz Ali just was someone who was interested in learning more. And he came to me and he gave me the opportunity to pair up with him and flesh out some of these topics that are very important to our existence in the gay community. You can find me on Instagram, Reggie's Expressions, which is REGGEES_expressions. You can also find me on Facebook with Reggie's Expressions as well. Reggie's, REGGEE_S Expressions with the S on the end. And you can find me on my podcast, Apple and Spotify, Google as well. So, I just want to let you guys know that these topics are, nuanced. They're going to be coming from my own experience. This in no way, shape, or form is all size fits all. At the end of the day, this is really to spark conversation, not set the tone in terms of what we think should be the case. And we welcome all identities that decide that they want to, come on. But one of the big questions that I get often, is from people who don't happen to be a part of the LGBTQIA plus community is, what is the QIA plus? What is that? Because years ago, it wasn't something that was necessary for us to explain. And Angelo, since you guys have seen the pod, at one point, Angelo and I had a discussion about, LGBTQIA plus, coming from the same standpoint of what is QIA? I don't understand. I just remember the first 4 letters. So, my idea is that everybody wants to be represented. And, it does get a little wordy after a while, verbose in terms of all of the people that we need to represent. But at the end of the day, we understand that there's no linear path when it comes to how you identify yourself. So, Keiz, tell me, if you don't mind, a little bit about what your intentions are, or
I'm just here to learn, man. I mean, I'm very ignorant, I guess, to all of it, for lack of words. Southern Baptist black man. So that's all I know is what's in the Bible, what my grandma told me. I mean, I have made my own assumptions and things like that. But over the years, I probably had 1 or 2 friends from the community, and they've been open with answering certain questions and accepting my ignorant questions. Because I'm just gonna ask you what I don't know. I don't know the words. I don't know the lingo. So I'm just gonna say what I got to say. And like I said, I felt comfortable speaking to you. And I just want to learn some more. I want to say some things and see how y'all feel about it as well. And if I say something wrong, teach me. Don't punish me. That's all I got to say.
But that kind of goes back to the idea of calling you in. You personify the example of what I mean by calling in. When we as people choose to live out our identity, as a gay man or trans man or whatever the case may be, we understand that there's a lot of scrutiny. So we're very choosy with who we allow in our circle sometimes. So, at the end of the day, I appreciate your candidness behind the topic, because you was like, man, I don't know. And then I also appreciate your, willingness to come in and brainstorm this whole idea with me. So thank you.
Hey, man, thank you.
Now, Angelo is, tell us a little bit about yourself. I can start off by saying that he is a part of the LGBTQIA plus community. But tell us a little bit about you.
Well, I Hispanic, Dominican heritage, I currently live in North Carolina in the eastern part, right outside of Wilmington. Um, Lived in Florida for 15 years. Was born and raised in Jersey. Um, as far as I'm one of those. I first started with the first couple of letters of the alphabet, LGBTQ. Um, Everything else after that is even a learning experience for me, um, because I mean I stopped at Q, as we had that discussion not too long ago, and I understand now that there's there's more to be included, and that and that's fine if they want to add more letters to it. I understand why most of us are being called the alphabet mafia. I get it. Um,
Heard that before.
at first I was like alphabet mafia. I'm like, what the fuck? But I kind of get it now. I mean, I understand that now there's a lot of influence, but at the same time there is a lot of education that needs to be done. I wouldn't say ignorance. That is part of it, but I guess it's the lack of education as well at the same time. Even with myself, and I guess we'll probably go more into that discussion as far as coming out and whatnot. Due to cultural, um, because of my culture, kind of had to hide who I was until you kind of felt that you just had enough. And I guess we'll kind of talk about that, but that's
Mhm.
pretty much who I am. I have a different perspective and I look at things differently. I kind of look at both sides and then poke the bear,
Mhm.
um, at it, and then we'll see from there.
Yeah. So Angelo and I are similar in that aspect. You did say, Keys, that you are a Southern Baptist male. And so am I. It's interesting because I had a conversation with my father earlier this week, and he said that also. And yeah, a lot of his teachings are from the Bible, and that's where we learn how we're supposed to navigate in this world. And the unfortunate part about the Bible is there isn't very much nuance there, when it comes to what's right and what's wrong. And one of the things that I've learned, in my years of living is there's always a gray area and there's an exception to every rule. So, why wouldn't this topic be any different? You know what I'm saying? If we allow there to be some giveaway for certain parts of the Bible, then why isn't that same grace given to this particular part? But that's not what we're doing here. We're not having a conversation about, tit for tat. We're having a conversation really to just allow everybody to learn more and start the conversation in their own homes about what they deem is necessary. So, the reason this topic, like I said, came up was obviously a conversation that me and Keys had, and a few conversations that me and Angelo had. And, you know, it was interesting to me. It's interesting to me, whenever I meet new straight people, some of the antiquated thinking, that they have in terms of what being gay, which is what I represent, is. And rightfully so. I mean, they're not in the community. There are some outliers who come into the community and then leave, which is a whole nother topic. But at the core of it all they think and know is that we like people of the same sex. Now, obviously, there's more caveats to what being gay is or LGBTQIA plus is, and we just want to make sure we flesh out that conversation as best we can. And some of the headers in terms of what that means. So I'm going to get right into the topic. The first topic that I want to talk about is coming out. um, the idea of coming out, inviting in, coming out. Okay, so Angelo, because of the ages that we are, and I'm married as well. My husband also identifies as gay. Um, but coming out, we came out, and what that means is it kind of goes back to the old cliche of uh, coming out of the closet. You know,
Yeah.
whenever people were gay and they didn't tell anybody, they would say, "I'm coming out of the closet," or "They're coming out of the closet," and that really became the catalyst to what became the norm for gay people, back in our term. But the burden of coming out is the idea of letting too much out and not being able to bring it back in. You know what I'm saying? As simple as that sounds, it's really the truth, because what I've learned in my existence is sexuality can be very fluid. There have been a lot of people that I've met that have bounced in the community, but identify as something else. And I agree, that even though you enjoy it, if you don't want to identify as it, and when I mean it, gay, straight, whatever, you shouldn't have to. But we like labels and boxes, even though we say often, I don't like to be in a box. We find comfort in putting people in a box and then challenge them when they say that they're not the box that we thought that they were in. So coming out just really had this burden on a lot of, on a lot of us in terms of, what does that look like? How do I come out? What do I say when I come out? What if how I feel now isn't the same way that I feel 2 years from now? Because when you come out, it's a very definitive statement.
I want to know how you came out, Reggie. I'm sorry. Okay. Take me there. Tell us the story, Reggie.
Absolutely. So I was 28 actually when I came out, but I had been practicing gay. I was practicing gay. No,
okay. I'm sorry. Never heard it that way before. But
I was, practicing gay for about 9 years at this point, because I had girlfriends and I also had, women that I liked, but I just was, fearful of coming out. So I was in the military when I had my first experience with another man. And it was just a number of years of men that I interacted with, but never found anything that was significant enough to make me want to come out. I always knew, even when I was younger, going through bisexuality, that eventually I would come out.
Hold on, so you started as bisexual?
Yes, I identified as bisexual because that was the more palatable way to come out,
So you were faking it until you made it.
Well, I wouldn't say fake it, because I had very real feelings for those women that I was with. It's just that what I wanted my future to be was completely different than what I had with those women. You know what I'm saying?
So what I heard the term beard, right?
Say it again.
Beard. Like I heard that as being
beard.
A term.
Yes.
So the women with your beards?
No, because then that would be the whole idea of me that I was just dragging them along in terms of showing the face of straightness, but being gay behind the scenes. No, they weren't my beard. They were actually people I was in relationship with.
Oh, okay.
And had a very real connection. It's just that at the time I didn't have the language to be able to explain that I wanted to be with men only. That didn't come until later. That didn't come until I had more experiences. So
okay. My fault for cutting you off, man.
No.
I gotta ask.
No, and that's why you're here, man. I appreciate that. Somebody who's on the outside looking in has that that outlook. But long story short, at about 26, I decided that I was not going to date women anymore. When I turned 28, I met this man who I thought was going to be my be-all, end-all. Unfortunately, he was not. But because of the relationship that we had was so intense and so quick, I actually came out to my dad. I was like, hey, Dad, I want to come out to you. I found this guy. I think he's really awesome, blah, blah, blah. And if you guys get a chance, I do have the full conversation on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So if you want to actually listen to what he had to say, please go do so. But he basically said, I love you no matter what. And I'm going to be here for you. You're my son. Now, for years, we didn't talk about it because out of sight, out of mind. But at the end of the day, I really felt that my dad's genuine love for me, it never wavered. I never felt that it wavered. Even after I decided to marry my husband and, had to challenge his belief again because I wanted to invite him to the wedding. And, he had to go to his pastor, and his pastor was like, you can't go because,
That's wild. That's wild. No disrespect to your father, but that's wild.
Hey,
That's crazy.
yeah, you can't go because that would be as if you're, acknowledging and believing that that's the case. So you can't go. So he didn't. Um,
What?
Unfortunately, none of my family members were there, but it wasn't for the same purpose. My sister couldn't come for whatever reason, and everybody else just, was not really a part of the process. But I don't want to get too sad about that because honestly and truly, that was one of the happiest days of my life.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you that, man. You was going kind of sound like, bro, you got married though. Like at the end of the
I
day,
I remember actually having a conversation with my father, and I told him, the only person I'm concerned about being there is Carlos, and if he ain't there on the day that I need him to be, it don't really. That would be the only thing that would bother me. So if you can't come, I'm not going to hold that against you. I would love for you to be here, but I'm still going to get married December 5th,
you
2000.
almost forgot. You good, man?
I had to put it together, but
Angelo, you had a similar situation, similar experience coming out, or
Well, my experience is a little bit different. I actually didn't. Well, I didn't even come out. I was actually outed. Um,
oh,
so it was a whole different experience with me, even though I was experimenting. I was experimenting. How should I say this? Consensual at the age of 17. I was actually raped when I was 13. Um, that wasn't by choice, but at around the age of 17, I started sneaking around and seeing older men. But I was also dating this other girl at the time. Even when I was younger, um, I was dating girls, but I always thought about guys until I was 17. Um, that I consensually did, came out or consensually decided to be with men. Um, then I was dating, this girl. Great, she had we had a very good relationship. Right when I was right before my 21st birthday, I had confided in her, that I've messed around with guys before, but that's not necessarily the case with you now. Blah blah blah. And I was just being honest. And she outed me to my mom.
wow, that's
And
crazy.
she, basically, like, mind you, we had already had plans and everything to move because we were moving to Florida and everything else. We were going to move together, and she decided to out me out to my mom. And that's the moment where I kind of decided to make a choice. Because if I was honest enough to tell her, what I'm all about, then I'm just gonna confirm it. You know what I mean? So in a way, I had a confirmation,
I mean,
right? So
you can understand why she did it though, right? Did you forgive her? Y'all still cool? Y'all had a conversation after that?
I have not spoken to her since the incident. Um,
I mean, you can
so
understand where she coming from though, right? Like why she's probably upset, especially if y'all plan a future together.
yeah,
but
but that
why
doesn't
why didn't she give the same courtesy to him?
exactly. So instead of sitting down and having a conversation with me about it, and making me feel secure, oh, everything's gonna be fine, blah blah blah. I mean, don't get me wrong, it was what we had was really good. Actually, when I started dating her, I wasn't seeing other men. You see what I'm saying? So her doing that, outing me out to my mom and the only reason why she outed, and it's freaking crazy. She wanted to have one of my kids. I wasn't ready to have a child. She wanted me to have a child with her. She already had one prior to us being together. And I told her one night, no, the condom's not coming off. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I'm not, I mean, I'm 20 years old. I don't want to have a kid at that time. I'm in college trying to go through law school. You know what I mean? Like, having a child was not a decision that I wanted to have it at that point. So by me telling her no, that I wasn't going to have a child, she kind of felt like, well, you know what? I'm just going to tell your mother everything.
Yeah, fuck it. Blow your world up.
Exactly. So, with me, I mean, that happened. At that moment, I decided to just make a decision. Like, okay, if you as a female feel this way, then you know what? I'm not going to go down that route anymore with any other females, because I don't want to ruin someone else's life either. You know what I mean? I kind of get everybody's. I kind of get the whole DL situation. I get it. Everybody's in it for different reasons. Um, but I kind of made that decision of, you know what? I'm not going to do this to someone else. Where I'm going to be honest and then have that torch blown. You know what I mean? I wasn't going to have that anymore.
So
So
you
I
didn't
just
take
kind
the
of
rigid
decided.
route. You didn't take the rigid route and be bi first. You just came straight to the gay.
No, he was bi when he was with.
No,
He said
because
he ain't cheat on her, Reggie. See, Reggie trying to make you
no,
to
not on her, but I was
Oh.
with men before.
Oh, okay. Reggie was trying. I thought Reggie was trying to throw you for a second there, man.
What he said.
No. With her, I didn't cheat with other men. Prior to being with her, I was.
Okay,
Like,
got it.
you know what I mean? Like, when I was with her, I was with her. You know what I mean? I wasn't seeing any other men. I wasn't trying to, you know, have that dual complicate my life even more as far as DL was concerned. You know what I mean? That's where it stopped. Would have continued to happen later on. Who knows? But that chapter got closed. You know what I mean?
What's
I
the
want to
difference?
take the time to. Oh, before you, Keiz, if I can.
Go ahead.
So DL means down low. For those of you uninitiated, it means down low. J.L. King, which is a huge. Well, he had a really good book. Well, it was salacious at best, but on the down low, which explained these kind of experiences. It's basically men who have sex with other men, but in secret, kind of almost like being in the closet, if you will.
Yeah, the new jits call it trade too these days.
Call
Yeah,
it what?
trade. Yeah, that's true. Trade.
They also call it
TRADE?
trade.
You got
Trade,
it.
like, yes. Mm-hmm.
I don't understand that. You gotta break that down, man. What's
Yeah.
trade?
So trade
It's
basically
the new term.
It is. It's a new term for DL. That's basically a straight guy who would have relationships or have sex with other men, whether it be oral sex or anal sex or whatever the case may be, and still identify as straight.
But why the word trade though? Like, what's the trade slang?
Because
you know what? I'm gonna go on Urban Dictionary real quick, and we'll find it out. Because that's
Angelo. No, go ahead, Angelo. Break it down for us, Angelo.
The trading part is that you're trading yourself with other people or between the sexes. So you still you're in your head. You're still calling, and they also call it straight curious. Also, it's like in your head. No, I don't want to be with another man. You know, that's some gay shit. Blah blah blah. But you don't mind getting fellatio from another guy. You don't mind getting. You know what I mean? Like. You know what I mean? It's a mind game.
I don't say trade at this age. I'm too old for trade. That's that. But it's funny because what's the name of this? Wikipedia has a big old definition. It's actually gay slang, but it's a term to refer to casual partners of a gay man or the genre of such pairings. Men falling in the category of trade are not gay identified, so they don't identify as gay.
They don't identify
relationships with, you know, whether it be sexual, emotionally, whatever they decide to delve into.
Gotcha. Now, on the slide, I think it said inviting in, coming out.
Yeah.
Can you break down the inviting in part for me? Yeah, like because y'all came out. So what's the inviting in?
Right. So
I had a confirmation.
Well, yeah, it's another term.
The opposite side of coming out is inviting in. So that's basically saying, Kels, you know, I know I share a lot of personal things about my life, but the one thing I don't talk about is my personal life. And I want to invite you into my world, and I want to share more of what I'm going through. And, then I would reveal to you that I'm gay rather than actually, because this is and this isn't a term that I coined. I get this, and this is one of my mentors that I actually follow. His name is David Johns.
I know you're talking about.
Actually find him on Instagram. Great young man. And he has a lot of queer trans topics that come to the forefront. And he's a big advocate for the Black National Caucus. He's a part of it. And he also is about, LGBTQIA plus rights also. But his suggestion is, rather than having the responsibility and the weight of coming out, where you have a group of people and you're coming out and it's like your quinceañera or first 21 party. Let's make it a cool, chill moment and just say, hey, I want to invite you into my world. I want to invite you into knowing something else that I find to be personal, and that happens to be that I'm gay. All right, let's go eat. You know what I'm saying? It takes the sting out of having to come out and disappoint people or make people feel some type of way, or having to, console someone. Like my sister, she cried. And, to her, she was just like, oh my God, I don't understand. And it was like, what? I'm not dead. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but are you the big brother or the little brother?
No, I'm the younger brother.
You're the little, because it's kind of like you want to see, you have an idea for your family. You have a like, I want to see my man do the best he can be. I want, like my little brother, I want to see my little brother be the best that he can be. When he grow up, I'm gonna show him what not to do, what to do, that type of thing. And then it's like, damn, bruh, like,
so
what?
If I were to kind of go, so basically, well,
it's a disappointment to some people. I hate to say it that way, but you said I can be honest. It's a disappointment, man. It's like, God, bro, like all these, you know what I mean? You going, what?
But a disappointment for who? You or him?
Yeah, for the person,
because
like his sister.
It's kind of selfish to kind of impose your expectations on someone else.
It is, but it's natural. You have expectations for the people in your life. Reggie have expectations for the people. You got it, yeah, man. Whatever.
I don't.
I guess being the only boy out of four kids, I have three sisters. I'm the second oldest and the only boy to my mother, and I'm the youngest out of four out of my father, and I'm the baby to my father. I guess the expectation, yes, there is an expectation, because I will tell you there was an expectation even for my mother. My mother, when when my mother and I had that conversation about my sexuality, she told me my expectation was I wanted to have kids from you, and
that's natural.
But the thing is, it doesn't stop me from having kids.
No, it don't.
That was her disappointment, right?
That was my sister's disappointment too. Yeah.
And you're not gonna have kids. No, my genitalia still works. I mean, I can still produce kids. That's false expectations. You know what I mean? In my opinion,
children even then. So I don't really, it was surprising to me that she was concerned about that, because it was like, Trini, I don't want kids. So I don't understand why this shouldn't be a surprise. Me being gay has nothing to do with that. And what I was going to say, Keiz, is a lot of times, a lot of what you feel in terms of that disappointment is the reason why a lot of us decide that we want to come out either later in life or we don't come out at all, because of the expectation of others. The idea of coming out or inviting in is, like I said, is to eliminate that stigma completely. But when you come out, like what Angelo and I did, he did it a little differently. It takes a lot for us to get to that place of being able to be honest with ourselves, let alone invite somebody else in and then take on their disappointment also. You know what I'm saying? And it's a big burden to take. It's a lot of why a lot of guys will struggle for years, trying to figure out what their identity is in terms of this community, because of, the expectations of others. I'm
Well,
not
not
saying
only
it's a very real thing. It is. But at the end of the day, it's like what he said, your expectations might not align with mine. So why would you be disappointed in something that I chose?
But you got to allow me to be disappointed. Like you
Yeah,
have to
sure.
allow
of
people to
course.
I'm
process
not
it.
dismissing the idea of you being disappointed, but at the same time, too, I think we have to understand that it's a back and forth, and that just as disappointed as you may be, I might be disappointed in how you take it. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
Because there's power in me coming out to you. You know what I'm saying?
I got you.
well,
I got another question, but let Angela go ahead.
no, and in my point of view, yeah, I will allow you to be disappointed, to have disappointments and expectations, but at the same time, I want also for you to have respect for me and understand where I come from as well. Because the same way
Right.
that you have expectations for me, I have expectations for myself.
Okay.
You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And it's one of those give and takes where, yeah, well, you were disappointed in me. Well, you know what? You don't get everything in life. It is what it is. Allow me to, you know, move forward in my life. You're either going to be part of it or you're not going to be part of it.
Got you.
Yeah.
Now, I'm gonna ask y'all about. I'm gonna move the conversation a little bit because a couple of years ago, there's a church here in South Carolina where they had a pray out the gay. Like
Hmm.
they had it's like a Wednesday night Bible study. They had this like raised a whole bunch of money, put money in the collection
Mm-hmm.
plate. But the whole
Mm-hmm.
point was gay people come, we gonna pray out the gay. How y'all feel about that,
Mm-hmm.
man?
It
Like
doesn't
the
work.
cure is praying it out. What y'all think about that,
It
man?
doesn't work. It's not real. You can't pray it away. Um, just as simple as that. Um,
Well, let me put it to you this way.
Okay.
Um, I was raised Catholic. See, I have a double whammy as far as religious background is concerned. My grandmother, a devoted Catholic, Order of Mary. My grandfather, voodoo high priest.
Oh.
Two different things, right? But this is how I'm going to pose it. If you have somebody sick with cancer, you pray the cancer away. You're praying it away, right? That cancer is going to go in remission, right? And then what's going to happen when it comes back again? It's still going to come back. Eventually, it will come back. Just because it goes in remission, and when I say remission, I say, yeah, they can pray the gay away, and you pray the gay away. What they're really doing is suppressing you from your feelings, making you feel shameful. What you think happens when people feel shame?
whew,
They kind of close up.
Yeah.
They don't want to say
I was not
nothing.
ready for the level of depth for that.
They
Wow.
stay they
That.
stay
Whew.
quiet, and then eventually the dam is gonna break because there's a lot of. I mean, like I said, I was raised Catholic. We all know about the stigma of the Catholic Church,
Mhm.
but trust me, I've heard a lot about the Kojic Church, the AME Church, TD Jakes. Um, I, I
I
mean,
get it.
to me, is that if you want to cure something, yeah, that's
Yeah.
and I understand the power of faith and the power of belief. Don't get me wrong. Like I said, I was raised Catholic, and even in voodoo and brujeria, there's that belief, right? There's that mantra, that belief, but it doesn't necessarily mean that things are going to change.
Yeah.
But that's my 2 cents on that.
That was good. I got to give you
Yeah, that was
props.
nice. That was
I was
nice.
not
That was
ready.
real nice.
You did that. You did that. I don't have anything to say really because I can't. There's no analogy better than that.
I got a
I
question for you though. I got a separate type of question for you then. Okay.
Okay.
You said you're Southern Baptist, Reggie.
Yeah. I am.
It's a billion. I'm guessing there's like a billion Bible verses that say being gay is wrong.
Yes.
Hmm.
Now, us living in the
Three,
South, our
three
laws.
in the old and three in the new.
Okay, so 6 laws. What's your response to that? Because both of y'all, I'm guessing, pray to God. You know, one God. Y'all believe in the Bible, right?
I'm more spiritual than anything, to be
What
honest.
about you, Angelo?
Again, I used to be a practicing Catholic, but yes, I am more spiritual.
Okay.
And the only thing that I have to say about the whole Bible verses is educate yourself exactly on the Bible itself. Okay, the Bible itself has been rewritten three different times, right? You have the international version, you have the King James version, and mind you, the King James version, you guys can Google it. It was written by a gay man. But anyways, King James was a bisexual gay man. But anyways, and then I keep forgetting the third version of it. I think it's called the NVT or something like that. But you have to keep in mind that when the Bible was written, it was written in Aramaic, Hebrew. Then it was translated to different languages.
Right,
And with someone that speaks two languages like myself, not every word will translate
right.
from the original
So
source.
you saying these 6 verses is wrong?
No, I'm just
Oh,
saying
no,
it's been
no, not at all.
interpreted
Okay.
incorrectly. It's all interpretation, right? Because um it's all about interpretation. I mean, if you think about what's that one, Solomon Gomorrah, it's a lot of controversy behind that one, because a lot of people will tell you that it wasn't about homosexuality that Babylon, Sodom and Gomorrah was destroyed. It was because of greed and what was that? Greed and sinful. No, not taking care of their poor. Just because there's a piece in there that's talking about having sex with angels, made it seem or look like there was a gay relationship, or they were messing around with, it had to do with
So you saying we
homosexuality.
interpreting it wrong?
Or maybe fairy, yeah, like angel, fairy. In that instance, is that what you mean?
Yes. I mean, as far as the interpretation from the original source of Aramaic.
So you saying the
Because
Bible
keep
just
in,
don't stand up against homosexuality? Like the Bible has no.
No, what he's saying is that when it comes to interpretation, everybody comes away differently. When they read, like there's a passage that you may read that may not, I might not interpret it the same way you do. And over the years, a lot of that has gotten diluted and turned into things that could potentially not mean what we think it means in today's terms. That's basically what he's saying. I'm not
right.
I'm not saying that there's no credence behind it. I feel like religion for me has been, which is why I'm spiritual now, has been the catalyst to a lot of guilt that I've held on in my life when it comes to sexuality. I can probably recite Leviticus and tell you how many times I've heard that and how that, blatantly, scared me in terms of my sexuality and why I didn't, I used to pray it away as we were previously talking about. But at the end of the day, the one thing that I find interesting that people do when they quote the Bible is they seem to gloss over other things, that other people do. It's all sin. You
Yeah.
know, we all fall short of the glory of God on any given day, right? No matter what sin we do, even if you go kill 10 people, it's a sin. And I have sex with 10 men, it's still the same type of sin. There's no wager different on my head than it is on yours. So, you know, who's to say, what's worse and what's not? But the thing that I don't like is the fact that people can be hypocritical in that sense that they would say, well, the Bible says don't be gay, but we're okay with, sex before marriage. You know what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
Or, having tattoos or marks, all of there's a
Wearing mixed linens, eating
right,
selfish,
you know,
shellfish.
having sex with girls when they're on their period or
It's in
women
the
when they're
Bible.
on their period.
Well, actually, no. Being inside the same house with a woman having her period.
And
You're
have
right.
the period, right? And
Mhm.
these
That's
are
Old
things
Testament. That's Old Testament.
It's
old.
in Leviticus.
That's
It's in
old. I don't
Leviticus.
know the Bible. That's old and new.
Oh no,
What?
that's in Leviticus. Oh, that's the
Oh,
old
see,
Bible.
now people tell me that Old Testament is old, New Testament should apply to what we live about today. How y'all feel about that? I mean, I'm telling you things I heard, man.
Uh, I don't think it even acknowledges some of the technology. I mean, it can't because it just can't. Other than just the language, it can't.
Gotcha.
We've
All right.
evolved so much as people.
So both of you guys know who Lil Bootsy is, right? The
Yeah,
rapper
Who?
Lil Bootsy.
the rapper.
Yeah, the rapper Lil Bootsy. He was on the Breakfast Club recently, and he was just saying like people like Lil Nas X, being all over the television and all in the music about being gay is influencing the kids the wrong way. When it comes to like things like that, movies, books, posters, music, how do y'all feel about it? I mean, like, do y'all agree with him that maybe it is too much into the TV? You say no, it's not enough. Like, where y'all stand on when it comes to stuff like that, man?
I think we need more representation, personally.
You know,
Um,
what you mean
and
by representation though? Like more movies, more books, more.
I mean, just in any media platform, really, education. Yeah, first and foremost, educating.
But
Uh,
Reggie, you feel that way about African Americans too. Like you think like we was having a conversation earlier about black movies before we started up, and you said we need that area. So now you're saying the community needs it as well. Like there needs to be a community millionaire list, a LGBTQIA plus millionaires list as well. Are you saying we should break it out like that?
so identity and race are two different things. They're not the same. So we can't categorize them as the same. But do those things exist in the gay community? Yes, they do. Do they get the same weight as what it would in terms of a blacklist or, showing our contribution to America as black people? Yeah, there should be a bit of spotlight on both, but they're two different categories to me. So it's kind of hard for me to lump them
Okay.
together.
Okay. I respect that, man. You, Angelo, when it comes to this influence, when it comes to the movies, the music, it's basically being shoved down our throats. Pause. I say pause. If that offend y'all, I'm sorry. But it's literally like it's being shoved down our throats like gay, 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 gay.
It's been done. It's been done. This is not. This is the same story all over again, right? The white folks has been doing it for us all this time. What black person have you seen in Gone with the Wind? All the movies during the '60s and the '70s and the '50s.
So you associate
When
go ahead. I'm sorry.
what I'm just saying is everyone should be representative. Doesn't matter if you're part of the alphabet, if you're black, white, Latino. Um, Everybody should be representative. Should there be more Dominicans on screen? Yeah. I mean, Zoe Santana shouldn't be the only one on there. She shouldn't be the only one on Star Trek. You know what I mean? All the reboots of Star Trek and Guardians of the Galaxy and stuff like that. She shouldn't be the only Dominican. There should be more Dominicans represented. I guess it just to me it's the education and the exposure. It's like they say, uno no puede tapar el sol con un dedo. You can't cover the sun with a finger. The sun is going to shine for everybody. So
Okay.
you just can't exclude whites, blacks, gays, Hispanics, Asians, yellow, blue. It does to me. It doesn't matter. To me,
But if
everybody
it's
should
my
be
movie, my
represented.
book, my network, and I want to exclude it, that should be okay, right?
Yeah, and that's fine. And then, but it should be okay for me to support it too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So
think it's
yeah,
okay.
it's. I mean, it's your network. You can do whatever the hell you want to do with your network. I mean, look at what happened with the baby. He said what he wanted to say. Now, does everybody else have to support what he has to say?
Do you think
I
what he
mean,
said was
but
bad, Angelo? Like straight up?
my money, my money shouldn't go towards you if I don't feel that way.
Right.
The only thing this whole situation with the baby, the only thing that I would say is he lumped up a whole not only the LGBT community, anybody that has HIV. He has to keep in mind that HIV is not necessarily an LGBT issue. It's a human issue.
He didn't do. He just did a callback, Angelo.
And
I understand
I
that, but
don't
he lumped
necessarily
it.
agree.
He
I agree with you
the
that. for
the
Keiz.
only thing is the other if that was the case, why the whole follow up on Instagram, digging a hole even further that he digged himself into?
Because at that point it was just like, yo, everybody coming at me. You got to understand what type of person he
He
is.
should have just he's you know what, everybody makes mistakes. What he should have done was just eaten his humble pie and
Was
for
it a
his tail
mistake though, Angelo? Well, who did he
again.
offend? How were you
Well,
offended
apparently
by that? But how were you
apparently
offended
a
by that?
whole lot of people.
But how are
Yeah.
He
you
offended.
personally offended by that?
No, I'm not. Well, me personally, I just because I have friends and I've known people that live or died with HIV, and for him to make a call like that, if you don't have an STD or an HIV, let's stop your phone lights. If you didn't stick somebody's dick, put your phone up. If you're dirty, and then to go on Instagram and then say, "Oh well, my gay fans don't have HIV because they're class they have class." What? Yo, that message should have been a little bit different. Look, what you said on stage, that whatever's 30, 60 second sound bite, I would probably forgotten about it if you had not gone on Instagram and then basically paint every, well, first saying that people that gays that have HIV um, are classless, that have no class whatsoever. Um, that to me is just most people that I knew, especially growing up in the 80s. My mother's hairdresser, he was gay. You know how he contracted HIV? He went to the hospital. He had blood transfusion. That was before they even knew how to screen it properly in the 80s.
But you're lumping it up together. He's not lumping it up together. He just made a statement.
Well,
He just made
yeah,
a
but
statement, yo, man. It was, to me, it wasn't that serious because, and I feel like both of you guys lived in Florida or lived in Florida. Both, I'm pretty sure y'all done had a party side and been to the club and turn up. You've heard this before.
But you also have to acknowledge too, like I agree with you, Keys. I don't necessarily. He wasn't talking to me, so it was easy for me to dismiss it. I was like, okay, yeah, that sounds crazy, and I just stopped listening. I have the option to do so, right?
My point, yeah.
But what we have to do is, and I keep saying this, these topics are nuanced, right? And these are the way that people choose to identify as. So we have to be delicate and acknowledge what people feel when they hear these words. When he says the stuff that he's saying based on what I, got from Angelo, I can see how hurtful that is to some people and why they would respond in the way that they do. I'm not saying that it's right or wrong. All I'm saying is they have the right to be upset if they are. It isn't. I don't think that people are just choosing to be mad about a specific something. I
But
think that what's happening is there's some hurtful. It may be reminiscent to something that they've heard before that triggered something inside of them to respond the way that they did.
right.
but
I mean, just don't get me wrong with the whole situation with the baby. It's not that I hold anything against him. I was just trying to make a point, right? That sometimes what you have to say have consequences. Yes,
Right.
you are able to say anything you want to say. You can do whatever you want to do. Just understand that there is consequences and repercussions to your actions. Not
Right.
necessarily by me or my next door neighbor, but there is people that will, like me, things like that are trick. Yeah, it doesn't affect me personally. Personally, it doesn't affect me. I just don't. I know people that have HIV, and this is not something that he should he should have been more. He should have educated himself, or instead of with that follow up that he did. That's all I have to
I
say.
think the
I mean,
follow
it's
up
the
was
same.
ignorant. I agree. The follow up was a little ignorant, but I think at
I
that
mean,
point it was like John Elton or and Madonna and Questlove. People started attacking him for the call out, and then he responded with the ignorant stuff. I think at that point it was just like fuck y'all, not the community, but fuck everybody that got something to say
I
about it.
get the whole situation. Yeah, I get it. But at the same time, like even if that wasn't his intent, I'm just gonna scale it back within the within the with other things that's happened. White folks that do blackface.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't affect you. They've done it, right? They express themselves. Most of them are canceled. Some of them had to eat their humble pie because of something they did 20 years ago.
Yeah. To go back to Bootsy situation though, when he's saying about being on television and being in the news and being in books, like I don't want if and I'm not talking about myself personally, but I don't want to
Hmm.
see two men kissing while I'm in the Walmart with my kids. I don't want to have that conversation. You feel like it's just I love my old man, so I'm gonna kiss him, I'm gonna hug him, I'm gonna lay on him, I'm gonna do all of that. But it might be somebody that's walking through the Walmart or wherever you may be, and it's like, come on, man, why you doing that shit in front of my kids? Like, do
Well,
you think
and
you
that
think about that before you make those decisions
But
too? Because
question
you want
for you
people to think
though.
before they say things.
But question for you though. If you see a man and a woman doing the same thing, would you have that same reaction?
To that person, maybe not, because that's what's
But
considered
let's say,
acceptable for him and his kids, or
but
her and her
realistically,
kids.
let's flesh this scenario out.
Okay,
If you had, let's say it was your son that was there, or your
okay.
daughter, or whoever.
All this is hypothetical because I do have
Right.
kids. So
All of
all
it
this is
hypothetical.
hypothetical.
I don't know you that well
That's
enough to be able to, and you saw that. You saw two men kissing. Would you have the same reaction if you saw two women, or not two women, but a man and a woman kissing? Would you say, man, I don't want my kids to,
no, because that's what I want my kids to be. I don't
but
want my kids to
your
be influenced
expectation.
by
right,
expectation.
your
I don't want my kids to
expectation.
be influenced. I think that the
But it
I,
takes more than that, Keiz. It takes more than seeing two men
but
kiss.
it's always one thing, one little domino that starts that trickles into
But
something else.
trust me, it didn't have anything to. If that was the case, then all these straight movies I saw before I saw a gay one, I should be gay. I should be
I'm,
straight.
I'm not. I'm just saying, man. That one incident can cause
But you're
a
saying it's
whole
one
other.
domino. It's a domino effect, but
It's a
that's not
domino.
the case. It's
How is
that's
it not the case? But how is it
because,
not the case?
because again, we're coming. I believe that I was born this way.
We gonna get there. I think next show, this show, we could get to it. But I don't believe that's
But I,
true.
but I have to. And I'm 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 choosing my words lightly because I want to be able to express myself in a good way without getting so passionate about it. But I will say that some of the things that you're saying are triggering me.
Okay.
I will say that. Now, whew,
It's all love, Reggie. It's all love, man.
I know, and I understand where you're coming from when you're asking these questions. I get it. I completely get it. And there's just somebody who's over there in the corner that are thinking the same things that you're thinking. But it makes me, it frustrates me to hear. It frustrates me to hear those things sometimes because it signifies why a lot of people in this LGBTQIA plus community decide to live double lives and decide to not be themselves fully because of the scrutiny that they face among others. See, to you, it's just a normal question. It's just a normal, like, hey, why is this or why is that? And the fact that you acknowledge the double standard makes me more upset because you realize that the double standard is there, but there's no rebuttal behind why there is that double standard, other than the fact that
my rebuttal
other than the
is
fact
this is
that
how I
it's
want it.
in the
This is how
Bible.
I want my this is how I want my kids to be raised. I want my kids to be raised woman, male, marriage, family, whatever it be from there.
But
So
I
it's not like an attack. It's more or less like this is what I want for this is my expectations that I have for my children.
But you have that conversation with your kids. Like, there's nothing that me and Angelo can do about that.
But that you're forcing that conversation now.
But if we're out and I'm holding my husband's hand, that's just me holding my husband's hand. That has nothing to do with anybody and trying to. That's just what I want to do in that moment. It's organic for me to go
What
and
the
grab.
baby said was organic for him. And look at all this uprising.
And it may be. I'm not arguing that to be the case at all with him. I'm saying that he has the right to feel however way he feels. But he doesn't have the right to speak on something he knows nothing
And you
about.
don't have a right to kiss your husband in front of me and my kids if I don't want my kids to see that in a public place. I'm not saying you directly, Reggie. Let's make sure we understand we talking and hypotheticals. But
Keiz,
that's how someone could feel, man.
Look, just to kind of interject myself into this real quick. Let's think this through, right? The expectation is you don't want to see your child kissing another man, and we already had the argument about opposite sex. But you have to understand, when you're in public, you're going to be shocked and awed with a lot of things. I mean, there's a lot of things I see in public that shocks me, and I'm an old ass man with gray hairs. It shocks the shit out of me. I thought I've seen it all. You know what I mean? And I kind of get the fact that, everybody wants to shelter their children and everything else, but you cannot cover the sun with your finger. So my suggestion is, you have that conversation with your child. If your child starts asking you questions, talk to your child, be an adult, don't lie and make a narrative that doesn't exist. It's the same thing when we have to have that conversation with your children about sex. Are you going to lie about it? You know what I mean?
No,
It's going to happen. You're going to have those unnecessary conversations. You're going to have that child that sees another person in public shoplifting. What you're gonna say? Oh, well, I'm not gonna address that with my child because they saw someone else shoplifting, and then it's okay for them to shoplift.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm more or less saying, okay, you saw the shoplifting, you don't shoplift. This is why we don't shoplift. So
right, but then you should have
that person stealing is now triggering that my kid's mind to be like, well, what's that about? What's that dealing with? And then you have to explain that to them.
But the same thing with you kissing other men. You'd be like, look, babe, this happens in society. People love each other differently. You see, instead of oh, that's not acceptable, blah blah blah, and creating a narrative and a hate. Because keep in mind, behavior is learned. How we treat each other is learned, and we know that very well by history. All right, because we have that history of being ignorant towards each other. I mean, I couldn't see myself being raised in the 20s, 30s, and 40s and 50s, where I had to explain to my child, well, why can't we go into that store and it says whites only? Where I had to explain to my child, well, you can't be out at a certain amount of time. I mean, unfortunately, there's conversations that we need to have, and it should be truthful and honest conversations. And I don't get me wrong, I understand where you come from, and I understand the expectation as someone having an expectation, right? Everybody in here and everybody who's listening, we all have expectations. Unfortunately, we do not get everything we want out of life.
Yeah, you're right.
And my I'm sorry for getting emotional because that got me for a second. So I had to, and I want to clarify, a little bit. So the thing that sits with me, Keiz, with what you're saying, is that there's no nuance at all. When you're saying these things, there's no nuance. It's just that I don't like it, and what I was saying in terms of me and Carlos, when I'm out and I'm in public and I embrace him, I'm not thinking about anybody else. I'm thinking about just my experience at that moment where I wanted to embrace my husband. That's as simple as it is for me. It's not like, I'm trying to negatively influence somebody, but I also know that in this world, if I had kids, I know that I'm not going to be the only influence that they have. They also have influences with the kids that they associate with at school, TV, and other things that, even though they may see two men kissing, that might not be the catalyst to them being, you know what I'm saying, gay.
Or who they want to be.
All I said was it could start the conversation, start the investigation.
It could start the conversation, sure.
And that's how somebody can become upset about saying it. Like, now I have to go through this whole thing with my child because he's seen me wrong.
It is okay, but it isn't my responsibility. That's between you and that child. You know what I'm saying? So if you want to have that conversation, and I think it was beautiful what you just said, Angelo, it's learned behavior. We teach children how to hate. We teach children how to, and it's based on the conversations that we have. I don't think you could have said it any more perfect than what you said. So thank you for rising up in that moment for me, because I was going through it for a second.
Well, I mean, for me, I mean, this is where I'm gonna. I mean, when I was growing up, it was when I was growing up, in the 80s and 90s, my uncles. Oh man, if you had your pants underneath your ass, I mean, you had to see that in public, showing your ass all the time. You know what I mean? I had to learn that not doesn't necessarily mean that you want to get fucked. It doesn't necessarily mean that you know that's what it means, and that was the stereotype back then. Is they just want it? It's just easy access, and that's not true. You see how it can be misconstrued? That oh well, no, there's a history behind it, and it's not necessarily means that you want to get poked.
Gotcha.
And that was the misconception.
Gotcha.
So yeah, sometimes we have to have that conversation and not go with that lie, because I was told when I was a kid that's what it meant. If you walked around with saggy pants showing your asses, you wanted to get poked.
I've never heard that. I mean, I heard that coming from like being
I'm a
in
northerner.
prison and an inmate and stuff like that. But I that's my
Uh,
first time hearing it, just outside
Yeah, I've
of
heard
that
it in
it,
other
element.
contexts too.
That's
I,
yeah.
it, it, that's what I'm saying. It's all in the education, right?
Gotcha.
And it's
Now you
experiences
said
that you eventually learn. You know what I'm saying?
now Reggie, you said something earlier, and we could talk about this on the next show. If we got time, we can hit on it now. The can you be born gay? Now
So,
that's something that's not me speaking hypothetically. That's something that I'm a little uneasy about you saying yes. Now, are you cool to address this now? Like you wanna keep rolling, or you wanna go the
we
next
can,
time around?
but I think that I want to address it because and we haven't eaten yet, have we? I do want to address it because I personally feel like you can be born gay, or you are born gay. I remember from a very young age, and you and I had this conversation a couple weeks ago with the uh, uh, with Mr. Red, uh, that I felt this way ever since I was younger. I always knew there was something different about me. I didn't have the language to be able to explain it. And as I gotten older, I, had certain imprints of what I felt being acknowledged by other people. And then eventually, as I got older, I was able to control my own narrative and understand that, this is something bigger than me. So, the idea of praying it away, or, being influenced by others, because I wasn't molested as a kid. 'Cause that's something that a lot of people believe, that if you're molested by a man or whatever, that's the first thing that, you know, um, uh, makes you gay. I've never been molested in my life, you know, or you were raised around a lot of girls. That makes you gay. I have I have three brothers and two sisters. You know what I'm saying? So it wasn't about femininity or masculinity or anything like that. It really was just a question of who I was attracted to. You know what I'm saying? And I told the story about this kid that I had a crush on. At the time, I didn't know it was a crush, but I remember feeling nervous and anxious, and whenever this kid would come around, and I didn't know what that was.
Man, you could be bullied by a kid and feel that though, Reggie.
No, no,
Anxious,
not
worried.
like how I felt for that kid.
Okay.
Not like how I felt for that kid. You know what I'm saying? And in my mind, I would have daydreams about us, at that time playing around together, and just it only being us. You know what I'm saying? No one else around. Like, I didn't know then that's what this, would turn out to be. But, it wasn't an influence or anything. It's just something that I felt on the inside, you know? Um, and that's as far as it goes for me. It's not this long drawn out like explanation in terms of, there's a right mix of this and then a right mix of that and then a little bit of this that to me, in my experience, is it's not a perfect storm. It just is.
I wanna leave that cliffhanger there because I want to say some things to your breakdown of that, but I think it'd be great if we do it next time around because I already didn't press your button one time today. I feel like you was gonna jump to the screen on me for a
No,
second.
no, no.
So,
And
so I do have a
said,
response to that. I do have a response to that, but I want to hold that response for everybody to come back next week and hear what I got to say about that because I don't think you could be born gay. I don't think I've ever daydreamed about me and a little girl playing ever as a child. So those those are some things I want to address. Like I don't believe it. I think it's based upon influence about what you see, about how things are around you. I think all of that plays a role into it.
Mm.
But we could talk about that next time.
Let me throw this into the cliffhanger.
Okay.
Then, if that's the case, then is everybody predisposed to be right-handed? Ah, think about that.
So no
Think
mind, you
about
got
that.
it. You got
Think
it.
about that.
You got it, man.
So, but we can have. I mean, we can leave that cliffhanger for in my response for next time.
just real quick response. Well, no, we'll talk
No
about
way,
it.
because this left. He really said left-handed. He compared left-handedness to being LGBT.
No, you're talking about being born gay. I mean,
Yeah,
my question was,
I
does
don't think
everybody is being?
there's a gene that makes you gay. I think there's a gene that makes you left-handed.
Ah,
Now,
That's what I'll
I mean,
say.
okay.
I don't
That's
think
what
there's
I'll
a
say.
gene either.
Huh?
I don't think there's a gene. No, a gay gene.
Never mind. Wrap it up for us, Mr. Reggie. We'll be back next week.
All right, guys. So obviously, you know that these conversations are touchy. I want to tell everybody I apologize for, kind of blanking out for a second, but that's why I brought my co-host, Keiz and Angelo on to make sure that I stay on the same page. But we're going to continue to flesh out these conversations. The next topic that we're going to have here is going to be about acceptance. How what exactly does acceptance look like, and what does that mean for you? As you can tell, Angelo and I have very different views when it comes to sexuality and being gay. So we're going to talk about that at length, and we're also going to probably finish talking about can you be born gay. So I appreciate you guys listening. Thank you so much
Yes, but
for the conversation. And anybody else have anything that they want to say before we out of here?
I just want to say that I need everybody to remember I'm just asking questions, playing devil's advocate. If I mean something, then I'll give that disclaimer before this is coming from me. But to push the conversation forward, I have to be a little more ignorant than I am because I want to hear what you guys got to say about a few things. Like a lot of things, I think people believe we just know because we're not in your community and we're supposed to respect. But a lot of times you can't respect something without understanding it. And this, I believe this series will help a lot of people understand and open up a lot of more a lot of doors for them to understand what's going on.
Right. Yeah.
well, with me, I came in nervous. I actually enjoyed having these conversations, um, and hopefully we can have some more. Like I said, I do have a different perspective and look at things. But yeah, it's. I actually expect for second episode and the third episode to be good episodes because now that I'm kind of comfortable, I guess next episode's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting nonetheless because yeah, we'll definitely dive into that. Are you born
Can you be born gay?
situation?
Reggie coming with this bull crap. Now I'm messing. But hey,
Yeah,
who y'all
we'll
can't see,
find out.
man, the guy that's been flipping us around back and forth and things like that, Nico Smoke. Shout out, Nico. Thank you for always being in the
Yeah,
background, making sure everything looks good, Nico. I don't know if we can hear you or see you, but thank you, man. I just want to say thank you. All right.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I appreciate you guys.
Close us out, Mr. Reggie. How you close out
All
the
right,
show, Reggie?
bring it out.
You guys know where to find me on social media. Reggie's Expressions on Apple Podcasts, You can also find me on Instagram, Reggie's Expressions, Reggie's REGGEES _expressions on Instagram. So I appreciate you guys for coming and joining with us. And we're going to continue to flesh out this conversation. Just check us out next week as we dive a little deeper into this topic. All right, guys, enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.
All right. Buenas noches.